Hello, my name is Genaro Cortez. I'm a San Antonio criminal defense attorney, and today I want to talk to you about the two biggest problems I see during alien smuggling traffic stops. The first are illegal stops. That is, police pull you over and they have no reason to do that. Second are Miranda violations. After they arrest you, police question you without reading your Miranda rights. So let's get started. Now, the first question you got to ask during an alien smuggling traffic stop is, when are police allowed to stop a person on suspicion of alien smuggling? The short answer is they need reasonable suspicion. I'm going to give you the legal definition of reasonable suspicion, then I'm going to show you how it works. Border Patrol agents can stop a car on suspicion of alien smuggling if the officer reasonably suspects, based on specific and articulable facts, together with rational inferences from those facts, that the driver or the car are connected or engaged in criminal activity. And that's the law, traffic law in a nutshell. Police need a good reason to pull you over. That reason needs to be based on objective facts. It needs to require like a reasonable person to say, you know what, there's something up with that car. Let's pull it over and check it out. And that's a key takeaway from traffic stops in these cases. The officer must be able to go into court and tell the judge, Your Honor, I stopped the car because of facts X, Y, or Z. If those facts are objective and they lead to reasonable suspicion, it's a good stop. But if the officer cannot do that, then it's a bad stop and you need to consider a motion to suppress. On top of that, many of these stops are being made by local police departments. And police officers can stop you for a variety of reasons, including speeding, weaving, or driving with expired tags. From there, the officer can ask you for your driver's license and insurance. He can also ask the driver or the passengers for identification. If during that sequence the officer learns that the people are undocumented and you're smuggling them, that'll also lead to an alien smuggling arrest, and that's legitimate. So now we know how and when police officers can stop a person on suspicion of alien smuggling. But what facts or factors do the courts consider if the person has reasonable suspicion? In fact, this issue is so common that the Supreme Court has created a list of factors to help support reasonable suspicion. I'm going to put that list on the screen now, and then I'm going to walk you through it. Now, the main takeaway from that list is not the number of factors that are present in a case, it's the strength or force of whatever factors are present. For example, if a Border Patrol agent sees a car near the border pull over onto the side of the road, or into an abandoned gas station, and then 1 minute later get back on the road, these facts are going to be more than enough evidence for the officer to stop you. This is because the driving pattern is erratic or unusual, and it also fits the profile of alien smugglers. Above all else, that fact pattern I just gave you is one of the most common fact patterns I see along the border. But what happens after the traffic stop? What questions can the officer ask you after he stops you but before he arrests you? In a nutshell, once you're stopped, you're not under arrest, but you're not free to leave. You're in a weird legal place. It's called, you're temporarily being detained, and it's basically a Terry stop. I've written about Terry stops before, and I'm going to include a link to my blog post on that in this video. And in a nutshell, it lets an officer stop a person and temporarily detain them to investigate crime. In addition, if the officer has reason to believe that the person that he's detaining is armed, the officer can also pat him down for weapons. And the key point of that is a Terry stop is not an arrest. That means that the officer does not have to read your Miranda rights, but he can still ask you questions. And we see these in DWI cases where an officer will see a person weaving or swerving on the road. He pulls them over and then asks the driver, how much have you had to drink tonight? The drivers in these situations usually will say 2 or 3 beers, right? When this happens, those statements can be used against the driver in a DWI trial. Similarly, in alien smuggling traffic stops, officers will ask the driver, what are you doing out here? Why did you pull over into that gas station or the side of the road? If the driver gives statements that are false or misleading, those statements can also be used against the driver at his trial for human smuggling. But at some point, the traffic stop turns into an arrest. Or stated differently, the driver is no longer in custody. He's no longer detained. He's now in police custody. And that's a key point in the traffic stop. That's a point where police officers must read your Miranda rights before they ask you any questions. This is called custodial interrogation. And custodial interrogation means questions asked by police officers after the suspect has been taken into custody or deprived of his freedom in any significant way. But one of the issues is, it's not always clear at what point a traffic stop turns into an arrest. And this is one of the big reasons that police officers fail to give suspects their Miranda warnings. They're thinking that the person is merely being detained when in fact he's already been arrested. But there's another reason. A lot of times police officers overreach or misbehave. They know the suspect is under arrest, but they act like he's only being detained, so they avoid reading him his Miranda rights. When this happens, you need to file a motion to suppress and let a judge decide at what point the traffic stop turned into an arrest. And then from there, you got to measure what statements were given and whether those statements were made before or after a Miranda warning. This could help kick out certain statements and improve your chances of going to trial. Finally, I want to talk to you about one more thing. It's a shadow practice that Border Patrol agents along the border use. And it's a very shady practice, and it's similar to the code red in the movie A Few Good Men. It's not supposed to happen, but it does. And this procedure is called question first, warn later. And it works like this. The officers that arrest you will take you into custody and put you in a police car, but he won't read you your Miranda rights. Instead, what he'll do, he'll start interrogating you, and then the suspect confesses. That's the first part of the question first, warn later. Normally, those statements wouldn't come into evidence, but then what happens is the Border Patrol agent takes you down to the Border Patrol station, puts you in a holding cell, and then a second set of agents interrogates you. These second set of agents are different from the first set. Only during the second interrogation, the agents will read you your Miranda rights, and what happens is the suspect confesses a second time. And the fatal flaw in this police procedure is it tricks a suspect into confessing. It's basically a coerced confession. It deprives the suspect of a meaningful decision about whether he should remain silent or speak to the police officers. If this happens, you need to talk to your lawyer about it and consider raising that issue. The main Supreme Court case on this topic is called Missouri versus Seibert. So just look for the things to look for are two different interrogations by two different agents. And you need to consider whether you were ever read your Miranda rights during these two interrogations. Now, those are the two big issues I see in alien smuggling traffic stops along the Texas-Mexico border. If you have any questions or have suggestions about future topics, shoot me an email at info@cortesdefense.com. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the like button below. Thank you.